All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into one of history's most sensationalized symbols, the mark of the beast. We're going to skip right past all the modern hype and get straight to what the ancient sources actually have to tell us.
You know, when you hear Mark of the Beast, your mind probably jumps to all sorts of futuristic tech, right? Microchips, barcodes, some kind of digital ID. And look, there's a ton of speculation out there, but early Christian scholarship, and a lot of modern theology too, points to a meaning that was way more immediate and symbolic for the people who first heard it.
Okay, so let's get into it. To really get the mark, we've got to start with that infamous number attached to it, 666. And you have to understand, for the first century audience of the book of Revelation, this wasn't just some spooky random number. For them, it was totally a code.
And the key to cracking this code is something called gematria. Now, this was super common back in the ancient world, in both Hebrew and Greek cultures. The idea is actually pretty simple. Every letter in the alphabet has a number value. So you can take a name, add up the numbers for each letter, and get a total. It was kind of like a form of numerological wordplay.
Okay, so what happens when you take this idea of gematria and apply it to someone who was, let's just say, a huge problem for the early church? I'm talking about the Roman Emperor Nero, a guy notorious for persecuting Christians. When you spell out his title, Nero Caesar, using Hebrew letters,
Well, believe it or not, the numerical values add up to, you guessed it, 666. So for those early Christians living under the thumb of the Roman Empire, this wasn't some far-off future mystery. No way. It was a clear, coded reference to the tyrannical power they were dealing with, right then and there. The number pointed to a man, who was the symbol of a system demanding their worship.
But you know, the number is really only one piece of the puzzle here. The mark itself makes the most sense when you see it next to its direct opposite in the book of Revelation, the seal of God. And this isn't just a simple good versus evil thing. It's really about two competing claims of ownership. In this comparison, it just lays the whole conflict bare. On one side, you have the faithful, and they're described as having God's name on their foreheads. It's a sign of who they belong to, who they're loyal to. The mark of the beast, then, is a direct counterfeit. It's a public sign of submission to an earthly, human-run power that puts itself against God. Bottom line, it's a declaration of allegiance. Who are you with?
Right, so this is the crucial takeaway. The mark is, first and foremost, a symbol. It's not about some piece of technology you might accidentally get injected with. It's about a conscious choice of who you worship and who you obey.
And you see scholars like Dr. Thomas Keane pointing this out. He says the mark is there in the story to publicly show who has given their loyalty to the beast system. So the real question isn't what is the mark, it's who is the beast. That's the key. So the beast in the book of Revelation, it really stands for this kind of counterfeit kingdom. It's a whole system that copies the patterns of God's kingdom, but is completely against Christ at its core. It makes a God out of human power, it demands your total loyalty, and it pulls people away from worshiping the Creator. And buying into this whole system, that's what it means to take the mark.
Okay, and this idea of allegiance gets even deeper when you think about where the mark is placed, on the forehead or the hand. And trust me, this is no random detail. It's deeply symbolic, and it tells you everything about the choice being made.
Think about it. The forehead, it's always been a symbol for our thoughts, our beliefs, right, our intellect. So to get the mark on your forehead means you've made a conscious choice. It means you're on board with the beast system, you believe in its values, and you've mentally committed to its way of life.
And then there's the hand. That represents our actions, our deeds, what we do. Getting the mark on your hand means you participate in the system. It means your actions prop it up, maybe just for convenience or out of fear. You know, like the text says, so you can buy and sell. It's that practical compromise you make to get by, and it lines your actions up with the beast's kingdom. Now, let's flip that coin and look at the seal of God again. As the theologian Ellen G. White puts it, the seal of God isn't some external stamp. It's an internal state of being. It's a settling into the truth, both intellectually and spiritually, so you can't be shaken. It's a condition of your heart and mind, something that shapes you from the inside out. Okay, so ancient code, a Roman emperor, a symbolic allegiance. Why should any of this matter to us today? Well, because that core idea, that test of loyalty, it is absolutely timeless. You see, the real test was never about a piece of tech. It has always been about where we put our ultimate trust and allegiance. That intense pressure for early Christians to just go along with emperor worship, we see echoes of that everywhere today, in all the pressures we face to conform to systems and values that go against a life of integrity. I mean, really think about it. Every time we're tempted to compromise our ethics for a job, or chase money instead of doing what's right, or just cave to cultural pressure when our conscience says no, those are the modern equivalents. These are the choices, big and small, that we make in our minds, our foreheads, and carry out with our hands that show the world where our loyalty really is.
So what this all boils down to, what the sources are really challenging us with, is this question. Maybe the mark of the beast isn't some scary future event we should be scanning the headlines for. Maybe it's something that's happening right now, a daily choice about our character, our integrity, and who or what we're ultimately going to serve. It's a choice between loyalty to something true and lasting, or just giving in to the pressures of the moment.